So this video is to help you to do your radiator on a 2003 Civic. This one's a 1.7 liter, as it says right there on the tag, and it's, like I say, a 2003. You can see that in the emissions tag. So the first thing that you do is drain the coolant. To drain the coolant on this, you got a radiator drain cock that's a little bit to the driver's side underneath. You may need to pull the bottom pan off and just have a catch basin below to be able to catch the fluid. The next thing you want to do is pull this upper cover off. In order to do that, it's got the pull center tabs, and the way that these work is you pull the center and they'll collapse. When they're in this position, it expands and holds them apart, so you need to use a screwdriver on the side or some means of getting that center to pop up. Once you do that, they'll pop out and you'll be able to pull the top cover off. There's 4 fasteners like that, one here, and then another one here and here. So once those are pulled up, this will be in the position covering over it, and it's not super easy to get the bolts out yet. So what I do is just slide it out of the little tabs. You can see these tabs here. Slide it out of them. It's easiest to do the right side first and then just kind of get it to angle this way. Once it angles that way, then you're able to pull the other ones out and get them up and over. The next thing you do after you set that aside is you want to take out the battery. The battery is held down by a bolt here and then a little hook that goes in the back side here, and there'll be a tray. So what you do is you pull the bolt out. Let me show you what that bracket looks like. So this is the bracket that holds the battery down. Like I say, you'll be bolted down here, and then you'll also have this little hook device that's the means for holding it down on the back side. You don't have to loosen this one at all, just undo that one, and then once you lift this up and move it to the back, you'll be able to slide that out and you can set that aside. It sits in a tray that's like this. You can see there's a couple of tabs in the bottom of it that correspond with these 2 holes here and here. So once you've got the hook undone, then take off the negative terminal first and then lay it aside. Just tuck it down off the side of the battery so it can't plop back up on. The reason you do that is if you touch, if the battery's connected and you touch this one with a wrench to somewhere else that's metal, that's a non-painted surface, it'll arc and it can damage your electronics and your wrench, and wherever it touches it'll make a nasty black mark. So pull this one first and then you can do this one, and it doesn't matter if you touch anything, the circuit will be open. So then you take the battery out once holding is off. Speaking of holding, it's just this cute little guy. You can just pull it out with one hand. It may have a cover or something over it. You can just pull that off. But anyway, get the battery out of the way. And the reason that you do that is once you pull that out, you'll find that these fans are held inside down in there, and you can't get them out until you get the overflow tank out, and you can't get the overflow tank out till you get the battery out. The overflow tank, as you can see, is shaped kind of like a C, and it goes around the fan. In order to take it out, it's held in by one bolt on the bottom, so you can follow where the cap is down, pull that bolt out, and then at the bottom it's just held in by that little tab. So once the battery's out, you can pull the bolt out of this. It's a little 10mm. Pull that out and then pull this off to the side and out. And then the next thing you want to do is pull the bolts that hold in the radiator fan assembly. See, that's where the tank bolts onto it. It's easier to see out. You can see the foot of it. It goes in like that. And then that 10mm bolt will be right like that. And you'll be able to follow location by where the cap is. So once that's out, then you can pull the other 2 bolts on the radiator fan, unplug the fan, and it'll come out the same way. It comes out toward the engine and then out. It is a tight fit, and you will need to have the radiator drained and remove the upper hose in order to get that out. But once you've done that, you can see you've got room all the way along here to be able to accomplish that removal. What I do for the clamps is I like to just take a pair of vice grips and then clamp them onto the hose clamp, and that way you can move it around freely. Once you've got the hose clamp removed, The next thing that you want to do is take the hose and just twist it back and forth, break it free because it'll be a little bit stuck, and then as you twist, pull it off. If you need to push with a pry bar or a flat screwdriver this way, like a Chinese finger trap, then go ahead and do so. Once that's all out of the way, the next thing you want to do naturally is remove this latch. The reason why you want to remove the latch and how you remove the latch, you've got 2 bolts on the left that you can see there, and then the one on the right, and they're all 10 millimeter. So you pull that out, and you can see that this is blocking. Your radiator is going to come out from the gap between the grill and the radiator support. So you need to be able to get this out of the way. Once you unbolt it, you can take it and turn it backwards like this, and then that'll allow you to clear to get the radiator out. Speaking of getting the radiator out, you'll also want to pull out these clamps. Or they're not clamps, what do you call them? Brackets that hold the radiator in from the top. It's just a 10 millimeter bolt on this side. Mine were really rusted. Another one here, you can see the rust. And I did have to use a little PB blast or a little penetrating oil in order to get those to free up. The next thing you want to do, once you've got those all removed, you want to go down below and remove your lower radiator hose. That's this guy right here. You can see where the clamp is now. I've removed that and pushed it back, and then I just take the hose and just prop it up out of the way. Then you want to get another kind of catch basin. Besides the antifreeze one, you want to get the one for doing oil or transmission fluid. You've got, if it's an automatic transmission, if it's a manual, then just disregard these steps. From the bottom, you can go down, excuse me, you can go underneath here and get to the 2 clamps and the 2 hoses for the transmission fluid. You can see I've got one there and one here. They're not too hard to get out. Now looking at this fan, you've got these tabs that stick down into the radiator to secure the fan. So just make a mental note of that. That's what holds the bottom. They're not bolted in. They have to pull straight up and then be pushed back in order to get them out. In addition, to get the... So these are the 2 transmission lines, and they're pretty easy to get to, pretty easy to access, and the clamp is the same fashion clamp, just the little pinch style spring-loaded clamps. So you'll want to remove those. Now the trickiest part of this whole job is this fan right here. This fan, you have to remove the radiator and pull it out through the same way, but it's difficult to remove the radiator with it in there. The alternative is if you remove the AC compressor or unbolt the AC compressor and drop it down. That gives you a little flexibility with the lines, but then you have to pull the belt off, and it adds a lot of work and a lot of labor time. So what I like to do is I disconnect the plug for it that you see here. You just push down on the tab. You can see the little hook mechanism, how that pushes down. So you just push on that, pull it out, and then unbolt the 2 bolts that bolt it to the radiator assembly. There's one there and then another one right there. So once that's out, you can pull it up, tip it back. There's just little circular tabs at the bottom that it plugs into these right here. You can see there's one here, and now you can see them a lot better. So basically you got to push that, pull that fan up, and then pull it back to be able to clear it. Now I had an issue with the transmission cooling lines because this one is an automatic transmission. This cooling line curves straight up, so it's like a hook, and it comes clear out to here. That fan, as you pull it up and pull it back, only gets to just shy of clearing the radiator drain cock pipe. So if you have that sticking up, you can't get the fan out to be able to pull the radiator up past it. So what I did is I went to unscrew it, and as I did, the whole thing started to rotate and it wouldn't come loose. It was really badly rusted, so I had to cut it off. You can cut it with a pair of side cuts. And then I took a cutting tool and just cut this off because it's an old radiator, and it made it a lot easier to pull it out. But otherwise you need to pull the plastic back and flex it till you can get it to below there, and then the rest of the radiator will come out. It will hang up just a little bit on the corners of this if you leave the grill in. So you'll want to pull back on the bumper assembly. You can see that it'll flex back and kind of hold. So pull it back, get it to click. It'll click on the headlight. When you go to put it back in, you're going to have to push that back down, and it'll click in. But there's barely enough room for that to clear, and it'll come out through there once you've moved the latch assembly. So that's how you do it. As far as putting the new one in, let me show you just what the old one looked like by the time I got it. See, this is the old radiator. This is the cut that I made. You can see the leaks all the way around the outside and how rusted this was. So as I was turning it, it just wouldn't come off. Unfortunately, it's just so rusted, it was just a lost cause, and then I cut this one off just because it was a lot easier to get it out. Otherwise, you got to flex the fan back and around. I only want to do that one time. I don't want to risk breaking the fan, so that's why that was done. One more thing, how is the bottom of the radiator secured? We know that we use these brackets to hold it down on the top part, and that they bolt down and hold it with a rubber grommet. How is the bottom held in? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So is Casey. So if you reach in here, you can see there's a little rubber grommet in the bottom. When you take your old radiator out, they're going to be stuck on there like this. And so when you pull it off, make sure to take these off of the old radiator, or they might fall off halfway in transit. You take them off and they go in like this. So that's how that's to be done. You're welcome. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to see more videos like this, click the subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. Please do not personal message me. They're too long and too many questions, and that way nobody else can ever see it again, and I have to answer the same questions over and over again. Your question may be in the comments below, and that's why I like the questions there, is because then you can find them, because I may not be online all the time. You'll be able to get your answers quicker that way. So that's why I do that. So people may wonder, how come you never answer my personal message? Other people are like, he did answer mine. Yeah, but it's a pain. Keep pretty busy around here, and it's hard to answer all the questions. Sometimes it's easier to do it through the comments. So that's why I do that. I think that's everything. Now remember, and this is important, I should have put this at the beginning of the video, this is not the only way to replace the radiator on this 1.7 Civic. There's a lot of ways that you can do this. This is just how I did it. This is one way that you can do and have success. If there are better ways and somebody else has a better means of doing this, by all means, I like the word means today, put it in the comments below. I'd love to see it. Thanks.